You want to sell albums but have no idea how much to charge for them. Let's get into it. I'm Vanessa Joy. I've been a wedding photographer for the past very long time, 20 something years. I also do portrait photography in corporate, and pricing is one of the biggest questions I get asked from many photographers. Where do you even start? Well, I'm going to give you the pat answer first, and then let's dive into it a little bit more. So if you're going to sell any type of product, whether it's wall art, thank you cards, save the dates, or albums, one of the easiest solutions is just to look at your cost of that product and times it by 3 to 5. Some people, only want to times it times 2, maybe to start with, and then go from there. Now that's the really easy, kind of old school answer for this. And pricing, really, you can get super detailed with it. I want to break it down for you, but let's keep it at a digestible level. So yes, you could take your product, your cost of sales, and times it times 3 to 5, and then at least you're not losing money, right? But you also want to consider what goes into that. Now, while you're designing with Fundy and maybe using a design for me where the designs are just all done for you in seconds, you're not really having a lot of time. You are having time maybe presenting it to the client or working on their changes or sending it through to print. Again, all things that are streamlined really easily with Fundy because you can order right through there, send things to the lab, send prints to your clients, but it's still time that you're going to sit down at a computer. So what I want you to do, in addition to thinking about your cost of sales, think about the cost of time. Add that in there. If you want to be someone as a photographer that makes, let's just say, $50 an hour, $100 an hour, and it's going to take you maybe 3 hours of total time between loading the photos in, initial design, talking to clients, back and forth, and ordering the product, then you're going to add $300 to your cost of sales to make sure that you are profiting your salary. Now, when it comes to things like thank you cards, pricing is pretty straightforward. It's what size do you want and how many do you want? Yes, there are some embellishes there, but you could, of course, just charge nominal fees for maybe adding foil or envelopes or putting the addresses on the envelopes. That's a little bit easier. It starts to get a little bit more complicated when it's wall art. For example, I could sell a 16 by 14 canvas and it's going to cost me a lot less money than a 16 by 14 acrylic or maybe matted and printed frame. So it does have a lot of pricing to it. Don't overwhelm yourself too much with that. Just pick some of your favorite wall art items. Maybe it's acrylics, maybe it's a canvas, and some popular sizes, and figure out the pricing for them. Personally, I don't like to nickel and dime too much. So if there's maybe a $2 or $3 cost difference, whether they choose, a back illuminated metal print versus a white illuminated metal print, I'm not sure if those are even things. I don't really charge a difference for that. I just plan for the highest price of whatever options they could choose, and then that's where I'm getting my cost of sale. Now, when we get into albums can be a lot more complicated, but here's how I want you to break it down so it doesn't overwhelm you too much. Think about the base album that you would like to offer to your clients. Really just that entry-level album to get them to say, yes, you know what? I want an album and I'm going to pay for one. What I suggest you do for a wedding, for example, would be 30 pages towards a 10 by 10 album. It's a very standard introductory wedding album. So go ahead and take a look at what a 10 by 10 album with pages that you want. Maybe you want to do press printed pages, so it's a little bit less expensive for the clients you serve. Maybe you want to do more of a gallery style with those thicker, maybe double thick pages, so it's a more luxurious type album that will make the clients you serve happy. But figure out whatever that base album is for you and your clients and use that to start with that page count. From here, you have an option. You can do what I said before and maybe look at the most expensive type of cover that 10 by 10 can have, and then base all of your pricing on that most expensive option they could possibly choose, which is what I do. Or you can make that base album come with a linen cover. And then if they want to upgrade to leather, it's X amount of dollars. Upgrade to acrylic, X amount of dollars. And then you can sell those upgrades based on that fabric that the album is being wrapped in. So that's one option. Or you could just include it. Now, the other thing you're going to do that Fundy is really going to help you out with when it comes to pricing, and really where I make most of my money when it comes to selling albums, is adding pages. Now, the fun part is when you have already taken into consideration the album cost, that base cost for those first 30 pages, the album cover, that 10 by 10 size, that's the bulk of your cost. From there, when you're adding pages, you make that 30 pages, 40, 50, 60, all the way up to 80 or 100, which most albums can fit into one book, you're just adding on extra pages, which normally cost like, I don't know, $3 to $5 per page. And most photographers charge $25, $50, and I charge $75 per extra page. Every extra page they add, which is just them adding the photos and the moments that they love and they want to preserve, makes you money on the back end, and you have your highest profit margin there. So for me, because I have a practice of setting them up with a design in Fundy and presenting it to them, and they usually add album pages on where I am making a high profit margin, I have no problem basically throwing in whatever cover they want, even though that particular cover costs me more money than, maybe the base album that they started with. So that's just me, and that's how I like to think about it and how it works for me to make sure that I am making a profit. Now, in order to sell, that's a whole different story. I just wanted to give you a little bit on pricing and just wrap your head around it. And of course, your pricing is going to evolve as you go. And then there are other things that can boost album sales, like, oh, do you want to add a parent album? And something like that is just like, adding another one to cart, and it can be very easy, but have a great profit margin. So just try not to overcomplicate thinking about pricing. What I do encourage you to do is always include a print product of some kind in your initial package, whether you're photographing portraits, engagements, weddings, quinceañeras, whatever it is, include that base album for me in the packages right off the bat. Because by doing that, and maybe just raising your prices that 2 times whatever the cost was of the album you're putting in there, by doing that, you're getting them in and introducing them to albums as a product. You will end up getting them into a creative design session or sending them a proof right through Fundy, where you will design the best possible album that you possibly can, which will definitely be more than 30 pages that were already included, and then they would potentially upgrade. So when you're thinking about your pricing and how do you price for albums, think about adding the price, that base album, into the initial package that they book you for, so that it begins the process of you creating printed products for them. It's as easy as that, and you can worry about how to design it and order it later. We have a lot of other videos here with Fundy that are going to teach you how to do that, and I'll walk you through that process so that you feel really confident when you get there. Happy number crunching. I'll see you next time.